Hello and welcome to Zirkzank Says. I'm Zirkzank, and this episode I'm going to be talking about the fact that it's kind of a nice day, and I felt like doing a Zirkzank Says in the day. The many of those I feel quite gooded in my mood to do a video. At this point in life, I'm just trying to do anything I can do to not do university work, because why the fuck would I want to be doing university work? If you think about it, it's not very entertaining, and for me at least, it's not going to give you that much value in life. I don't think, at least. Doing the work when I feel like doing it is sort of more important than forcing myself to do it when I don't feel like it. I could probably get a lot more done if I was to force myself to do it somehow, but I would just hate being alive, and I just don't want to trigger that, so that's why I've not been doing that. The other day is a great example of this. I made two videos. I made a Richard Dawkins versus Neil deGrasse Tyson kind of, where they're saying to each other stuff about being gay. Now, obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with homosexuality, other than the fact that it means that those two women or two men can't breed. You know, that's the only downside. But if you don't want to breed, then there's no real downside to it. I just thought it was funny, more than anything, because the association with the word gay is kind of like, when I was a kid, calling someone gay meant that they were kind of silly. It meant like silly or stupid, or just like, if you do something that's gay, it's like you're just doing something idiotic, or something that is not socially acceptable within what's socially acceptable for like 12-year-old kids to do. So when they say calling each other gay, I think it's funny. It's not particularly malicious or anything. And then the other video I made was a Nutshack meme, which is my hair. The Nutshack theme, but backwards before every Nutshack, but all the Nutshacks are forwards, and the whole thing is in order, other than the bits that are backwards. So that was my complexity level there, and it wasn't very complex to make, but I just felt like making stuff. You know, it took me time to make those things, to edit the Dawkins meme. It took me time to edit the Nutshack meme, and I didn't really get much out of it. I was just doing that so that I wouldn't have to do my work, and I realized that I'm bad at doing work unless I want to do it. So if I can convince myself to want to do work, it really helps me get it done. For example, if I feel like writing, I will write and it will be good. Whereas if I don't feel like writing, I'll just stumble and really struggle to write the page. You know, I'll open up the document, get to where I was last writing, and then just struggle to think of every sentence, to word it properly, more than anything, because I can think of the sentence but not how to word it. So then there's no point writing down a sentence that's worded shittly like that, and then, you know, when you're feeling in a good mood, coming back to the document, rereading it, and then editing the shit parts to make them better, because that's just going to take a long time. And also, if you've got a shit section of writing that you have to edit after writing it, that's also going to be, that's going to kill your mood. So if you're in a good mood, you feel like writing, you want to just write new content rather than editing your old content. So for me with writing, that's why I don't write when I don't want to write, because I know I won't be able to do anything good. And it's the same for that across all fields. The trick is to be able to get good on command. You know, you click your fingers and you're in go mode. But that takes effort, and wanting to do that requires you to want to do that to do it well. So, it becomes an endless cycle. What I'm really trying to say here is that you can justify procrastination by saying that what you end up doing will be low quality, and you'd rather do it in creative spurts. That's where the best kind of content comes from, as opposed to, just doing loads of shit and then editing the shit and then editing the shit. Like, you can get stuff done like that, but it's just not worth it. Which is the same for Zirkzank videos. Like, I know this is shit because I didn't prepare it. I didn't feel I felt in a good enough mood to do it, but then I really quickly ran out of stuff to say. See, just stuttering and stammering, trying to think of things to say. I could talk about the fact that there's like stuff on the shelf above me, like some crackers. I was eating some crackers because I ran out of snacks to have. Crackers are quite nice. Huel is nice. I make videos on Huel. I care about videos. I get to a situation where it's like I don't really want to make videos about anything because I realize that I don't care enough to make the videos sometimes, but when I do, no one else cares. So it's a weird situation. Like, for example, here's a thought, something I'm interested in. If I'm interested in saying it, no one is interested in hearing it. But if I'm not interested in saying it, then people will probably be interested in hearing it. So it's a weird metric and a weird kind of scale to go by. But, like, for example, I could make a top 10 something list that I wouldn't particularly care about, but other people would be likely to care about. Or I could, make a thing where I discuss some topic or whatever that people are into, but I'm not, and that would be better to serve a mass audience. But it's weird. Like, that doesn't I don't seem to matter. I don't understand why this video's like the zoom focus is so shit. Like, it keeps zooming in and out. This is why I don't record in the day. Well, it is now why I'm not going to record in the day. What are we on? 7:45. Have I just rambled for 7 minutes and 50 seconds? Can I keep rambling for this long? I know I can, but should I? It's a real question. Probably not. I should probably just go back to looking at memes and procrastinating. What I should be doing right now is measuring. Gotta measure the house that I'm in to do it for 3D. You know what? That's something that I've not done. I've done a lot of work in 3D Photoshop. Obviously, I think I've shown that off a bit. So like 3ds Max, Autodesk Maya, or Autodesk Max, Autodesk 3ds Max, Autodesk Maya, Autodesk Mudbox, Pixelogic, ZBrush, Quixel, Photoshop, Unreal Engine, RenPy, Python, the scripting language for RenPy, a bunch of other stuff. Let's just see. I can read it here. I've got Marvelous Designer, FL Studio, Audacity, Paint Tool Sci, OBS, which is what I'm using to record here, Photoshop, Audition, Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects, Adobe Flash, Adobe Illustrator. Yeah, I could make video guides and tutorials and neat little tips and tricks on how to use these softwares, because that might be more useful. That's something I'm actually interested in doing and could be useful to people, as opposed to this video, which is neither useful nor interesting, unless all you wanted was some background noise, in which case that's what you got. That's what Zirkzank says is it's background noise. You put the video on, you alt tab, and you got background noise. If you're feeling lonely or if you just want to listen to someone talk shit while you get on with your work. Kind of like ASMR, except I'm not doing anything that can give you tingles. At least I don't think I am. If I am, then please let me know. Like, please let me know. Give me some feedback so I can know what to do more of that's both enjoyable for me to make and enjoyable for you to watch. Because at the moment it's mostly just been, I've been doing stuff that I want to make, and I have no real feedback of whether that's what people want to see. I have likes on the poetry that I made, but you know, making poetry is very different to making this kind of content. Making poetry takes hours and hours to make a poem, and I can only make the poems when I feel like making a poem. I can't just, like, for example, I couldn't just close this video down now and start writing a poem, because you need to be in the right mindset for it. Mindset is a very particular, powerful thing. If you can control your mindset, if you can control your mind, then you can get a lot more stuff done in life. Is getting stuff done in life worthwhile? Is there any point in getting stuff done in life? You know, you're gonna die eventually, so what's the point in doing stuff in your life? Does your life have a purpose and a value? Is it worth spending effort to do stuff? Why do you not just kill yourself now? I'm not saying that to you, viewer, right now, whoever you are viewing this right now. I'm saying, like, in a general sense, why don't we all just kill ourselves if we know we're gonna die? I think it's because we care about our legacy. Some people care about our legacy. Some people care about having fun. They, like, say for example, if I was one of these people, I would care about having fun today. I would care that I might be having fun in an hour. I would care that I might be having fun tomorrow. Or next week I might be going somewhere. You know, I might be going on holiday, or might be going to do something fun. Or next week, or the next month, there might be a new piece of technology coming out. Or like next year you might be old enough to do something cool. Or next year you might have saved up enough money to go somewhere and do something, like to buy a house. Or next decade you might be able to go to Mars. So, you know, you end up with a situation where you're waiting a decade to see if you can go to Mars. In the next 20 years you might have, like, loads of money and be able to do stuff. You know, you start thinking of what could happen in the future, and then you sort of then decide you don't want to die because there could be some good stuff in the future. It's more likely that it's just going to be the same, and that when you do get to those points, even if you do get to go to those points, you'll always be thinking in the future of what fun stuff might be happening in the future. And the fun stuff that happens in the future will never happen, because as soon as it comes into the present, everything in the present is in the past. Like, every second that you spend in the present, you think, oh wow, this is great, but you're thinking what I did like a second ago was great, or you're thinking what I'm about to do in the next 2 seconds is great. Like, for example, when you're on a roller coaster, you're thinking more of the time how when you get off the roller coaster you're like, that was great. Before you get on the roller coaster you're like, oh, this is going to be great. When you're on the roller coaster you're thinking, oh, when we get to the top of this climb it's going to be great. When you're on the roller coaster going down, for like a couple of seconds you think nothing. You don't think anything. You maybe think, wow, this is pretty great. Then you go back to thinking in the past and the present, in the past and the future. You very rarely spend time thinking in the present, because thinking in the present doesn't get you into the future, and it doesn't allow you to experience the past. So, does that mean that life is pointless? I don't think so. I think you can through logic you can assume that benefiting the human race, doing stuff to help the human race is like everybody's logical purpose, contributing to society and contributing to helping the success of humanity in some way is logically what you're supposed to do, and if you just kill yourself, then you're probably not helping humanity. Some people would be helping humanity by killing themselves, but I can't think of any examples off the top of my head. Well, actually a bunch came to mind, but I'm not going to say. But you see what I'm coming from. That's kind of subjective. So like, people who I think are harming humanity, they themselves might think that they're not harming humanity. Or this is also possible. They might not care. They might not care at all that they're harming humanity. That's like it's the most likely, most probable thing, is that people who are doing bad things don't care that they're doing bad things, and that's the problem for the rest of people. This goes back to the video I made about actions versus intentions, kind of like, you know, someone who has bad intentions and is doing bad actions is pretty bad. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this. I'm just trying to justify being alive. Shouldn't really have to try and justify it, but most of the time I don't feel like it's worthwhile. I'm constantly just thinking like, well, you know, maybe when I finish university my life will get better, and then when I get to the point where I've finished university, it'll be like, well, maybe the next milestone will be better, and then when you get to that milestone, maybe the next milestone will be better. You know, it's just a perpetual, endless kind of, it might get better, and it probably won't, but it could do. That's kind of what optimism is, right? I'm being optimistic by saying that it probably won't get better, but it could do. That's optimism? Is it? The whole concept of like whether your glass is half full or half empty is kind of stupid, because the glass is always full, unless it's in the vacuum of space. But here on Earth, this part of the glass has got air in it. This part of the glass has got carbonated water in it. So the analogy's wrong. When you drink the first half, do you then say that the glass is half full or half empty? Well, considering you've just emptied it, you'd say that it's half empty. If you were to fill it up, you would say that it's half full. That's where I gather from that. If you're filling a glass up halfway, if you're filling it up, it's half full, it's 3/4 full, it's full. When you're emptying it, it's like 3/4 full, half, 3/4 empty, half empty, 3/4 empty, all the way down to empty of the liquid or whatever you put into it, because it's always full of something. And I don't think that analogy determines whether someone's optimistic or pessimistic. That's kind of ridiculous. Unless the point of it is they see the glass and they think it's being filled up. No, it's just a glass, it's static on its own. They think it's being filled up, or they think it's going to be filled up. That might be optimism, if you want it to be filled up. Or you think that, oh, the glass is half empty, I need to get it before it finishes emptying. Or it's half full, it's going to get more, collect more. That might be the psychology behind it. Either way, I think it's probably a pretty flawed way to determine whether someone's thinking pessimistically or optimistically, and then to define somebody based on whether they're a pessimist or an optimist, because it depends on the situation. I think most people can calculate based on odds, using their own experience and some logical analysis of statistics to determine how likely or unlikely something is, and then you say, well, I think this is going to happen, or I think this isn't going to happen, and you have like a rough idea of what the chances of it happening are, and that determines whether you're optimistic or pessimistic about it. I don't think it's inherently due to your nature of the person. Like, being skeptic doesn't mean that you're a pessimist. I'd argue that being skeptic is kind of an optimistic thing, because you're saying that I can't know the outcome either way, so anything can happen. You know, that's optimistic, because you're saying that the good thing could happen or the bad thing could happen. Saying that the bad thing will happen is maybe pessimistic. Saying that the good thing will happen is not optimistic. That's stupid. Saying anything could happen is optimistic, I think. Saying that the good thing will happen is kind of naive. It's maybe the wrong way to think. But I don't know. Maybe thinking positively. It's thinking positively to try and achieve positives. But if you set yourself up too high with your expectations, when the reality doesn't match up to your expectations, that can be disappointing. Whereas when you accept that either possibility is possible, you can't be disappointed because you knew that it could happen. Like, I don't get disappointed when I fail at something that I knew I could fail at. But I don't know, maybe being disappointed, or the fear of being disappointed, is a motivator, and that I don't feel motivated because I don't fear failure. Well, there's that Scott Adams book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. I consider that, in that he was saying how he learns from his failures, so he welcomes failure because every failure is an opportunity to learn, and learning stuff is valuable. Well, I guess if you had an infinite lifespan, learning more things would be good, but because you don't have an infinite lifespan, learning a lot of things might not be useful unless you get to use every bit of information that you learned, which you're not likely to ever get to do because you have a limited lifespan. So that's an interesting one to think about. I think if you learn a lot of things and then tell other people what you've learned, you get to perpetuate it. You get to validate your learning, justify the fact that you've learned a lot of things, and other people can use what you've learned to benefit them. That might be a great way to go about that. But what is the value of a legacy when you don't benefit from it, or you can't care about it because you're gone? When you're gone, literally nothing matters to you because you stop existing. You could argue that you never existed in the first place, that you are just an independent, no, you are just a extremely dependent organism on the surroundings that you have, but you are connected to it in every single possible way. So you are the world that you see, and everything that your body and mind does to interact with it is just the universe interacting with itself, rather than you being detached from the universe, because you're really not. If you're in the universe, you're matter in the universe. You are the universe. You are what the universe is made of. So you are the universe, physically. And then to say that your mind and your consciousness and your thought process are detached from the universe is ridiculous, because what you're thinking is in the universe. Unless your thought happens outside of the universe, which is potentially possible. Like all thought that happens within minds and all imagination might actually take place in other universes, and other realities. There might be computers that are calculating all of your thoughts independently of the physical makeup of your brain, because your physical brain here is inside your skull, and you think that your thoughts and stuff are a result of that. You think that your thoughts are just physical, the result of physical chemical reactions between neurons and electricity. But the actual consciousness might be calculated elsewhere. For example, because we are in a simulation, the mind parts of our brains, the consciousness parts of our brains in the simulation that we're in, could be taking place in separate simulated universes. So everybody's brain is a simulated universe that's potentially different or the same as to be the one that we're in. If you think of every universe as a brain, or every time every thought you have, like when you're reading a book, you're reading a fancy book, you're reading The Lord of the Rings, or you're reading Harry Potter, or you're reading the Discworld books, the universe that Discworld takes place in is an entire universe in your mind. It doesn't necessarily have to be just physically in your mind. It could be an actual universe that you are just channeling into your mind, and you think that it's part of your thought process, but it's not. It's not your thought process, because your brain literally is just ins and outs. Your brain is just input and output, and then the calculation stuff is everywhere else. That's a possibility. And the reason I was saying that we're a simulation is because it's not my original thought. It's not my original theory or anything, but it makes sense if you think about the fact that in the past, in the past 50 years, we've gone from not having computers. Well, actually, there were computers that were mechanical ones hundreds of years ago. Let's just say, in the past 100 years, we've gone from not having the computers that we have today to having the computers that we have today, and these computers that we've developed now are capable of simulating worlds. If you don't know what I'm talking about, think of games like The Sims, or Grand Theft Auto, or World of Warcraft, or RuneScape. These big kind of worlds. It doesn't even have to be big, it can be just small, but the point is it's a simulated virtual reality. Before you even get to the point of interfacing a virtual reality for us to experience, there is still a virtual realm there, and the actors within that virtual realm don't yet have conscious thought. But if we end up developing technology more and more, technology gets more advanced, as it does tend to do, it's likely, so likely, that eventually we'll have simulations that can mimic the universe that we are currently in to the most minute detail, at which point you would have universes like the one we're in, with people who have thoughts within that universe. So then you could argue that our thoughts are within this universe, but our thoughts also happening within a universe that's above the universe that we're in, like another layer above it, and so on, another layer above that one. But then within this universe, we could have another universe within this that we put brains into. AIs with brains into virtual worlds that basically mimic this one. You could get a simulation that is so advanced that it mimics the entire creation and development of the universe that we live in, like right from the Big Bang all the way up to the current point that we're at. But you could play it at 2 times speed, pause it, and reverse it. I mean, if you could do that, then you could predict the future based on that. But then technically, because you'd be predicting the future in that universe, whilst observing a universe where they're predicting the future, whilst they're observing a universe where they're predicting the future, because if you think about it, you've copied their universe, they've got to the point where they create another universe, and so then every universe that they create, there's a universe within that universe creating another universe, so it just keeps going on and on and on. And each one is simulating its own universe faster. Would that be possible? It might be. Like, you can launch up a 3D application now and simulate every aspect of its calculations at like twice the speed, 100 times the speed, 1,000 times the speed. So based on that, you could say, yeah, I could probably simulate the universe at twice the speed, or you could escape this universe, get power from another universe, get the power of 2 universes, because you might need a lot of power to calculate the simulation at twice the speed of the universe. But that's just assuming that speed is a real thing, like as in that time is something that you can use to go to speed the calculations up faster by saying, well, we'll get the same calculation done in half the time. You know. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought now. This is a good time to end the episode. Thanks for watching. If you watched this and if you put this on in the background or whatever, I hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you've enjoyed it, like genuinely. You know when someone says, I hope you've enjoyed watching, and like, comment and subscribe. I mean, I do hope you've enjoyed watching this because, you know, I don't have to have a reason, really. I'm just happy. I'm happy if you enjoy watching this. I don't like necessarily care who you are or why you enjoy it. I'm just glad that you've enjoyed it because that's what I aimed to do, really. So yeah, thanks for watching.